Welcome to a new reading vlog. In this reading vlog, I am planning on reading some of my most anticipated book releases for 2026. It is currently, at the time of filming this, the end of January, heading into February. I have the whole of this week off work. It's currently Monday, and I thought I would vlog this week because I am so excited for the books that I'm planning on reading. I've started one of them already, and I'm going to tell you about it, even though I don't feel like I have that much to say. I started listening to the audiobook for Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. Mixed feelings so far. If you don't know, this is, at least to me, it feels like a character study of this 17-year-old girl who develops a crush on one of her teachers. The writing feels very crude so far. You know where sometimes you feel like an author is making certain word choices deliberately to provoke a reaction? It feels like that, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, especially listening to it. I think reading it physically I would have no problem, but there's certain words that I find quite jarring when I'm listening to them. But I do like a book where it focuses on a character during a specific time in their life. I might have said this already, it's only a 5-hour audiobook, so it's probably only going to take me a few days to get through it. And then the next book that I want to pick up is Catriona Ward's new book, Nowhere Burning. This comes out, I think, in the middle of February. I've got an ARC through NetGalley, so I'm going to be reading this on my Kindle, and this is another one that I'm super excited about. I haven't decided what the third book is going to be for this vlog. I would like to try and read 3 new releases, but I need to have a look and see what's come out already, because yeah, I want this vlog to be reading new releases from January and February. Outside of reading, I have some other plans this week. I am getting my hair cut on Wednesday, which I'm feeling a little bit nervous about because I want to go shorter. I want it above my shoulders, but I don't know, I might chicken out when it gets to it. I've had longer-ish, like mid-length hair for a while, and I'm feeling a change, but I don't know whether I want to commit to it. So we'll see how I'm feeling. It's going to literally be Wednesday morning. I'll be sat in the chair and that's when I'll make my decision. But that's happening, yeah, Wednesday. Thursday, I don't think I've got anything planned, but Friday, I'm going out with my mum. We're going to go out for brunch and then maybe a little look around town. So thank you for joining me for this vlog. Hopefully it's going to be a fun one. The weather has been miserable recently, which makes filming very difficult. That's another thing actually that I want to do this week. I want to film an updated bookshelf tour with my partner. Seeing as how we're both off work this week, it feels like a good time, but I need a day where it's not terrible lighting. So we'll see if that happens. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow or on Thursday. I also ordered a Gusto box this week because I thought it would just be easier with us being at home every night. Sam made this yesterday. This is a lemony orzo pasta thingy, and it was quite good. I would definitely recreate that and have it again. Then tonight I'm going to be making what's it called? Cauliflower and chickpea curry, which I think is going to be very tasty. Then the rest of the week we've got buffalo halloumi shawarma kebab, might be saying that wrong, and a creamy butternut squash and miso gnocchi, which I think this is the one I'm most looking forward to, but we're going to save it for the end of the week. I had the worst night's sleep last night. I couldn't get to sleep until about 1:30, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, and then Sam had a physio appointment at 9 that I needed to drive him to. So I've been feeling very sorry for myself this morning. I was going to read, but I felt like I couldn't really concentrate on anything, except I did end up watching a movie instead. I decided to watch People We Meet on Vacation, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the movie a lot more than I remember enjoying the book. but I read the book about 5 years ago when it came out, and I didn't like it as much as Beach Read, but as a movie, I think it worked really well. I really liked the actor who played Alex. There were these moments where the camera was just on him and he was conveying so much with just a look, and I would really recommend it. I had a great time watching it. I was engaged the whole way through, and I think they kept the essence of the book, but they changed a few things to make it more sense as a movie. I haven't read any more of Half His Age, maybe another chapter or two, but not enough where I feel like I can say any more on that. I did start a physical book last night though. I think I said I wanted to pick up Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward, and I am liking this so far. I'm about 20% of the way through. What I like about Catriona Ward's books is how they often end up being not what you expect. So I'm going to be careful what I say in terms of a synopsis. I'm going to stick to what's on the back of the book, but if you don't know, this is about two siblings. There's a boy and a girl. Riley is 14 and then her younger brother is 7, and after their mom passed away, they went to live with their cousin who is abusive, and Riley was hoping that they could stick around and, you know, have somewhere to live until she turns 18. However, she realizes that her brother is not gonna make it that long, understandably so, and they decide, or Riley decides, to take her brother. They sneak out in the middle of the night and run away to this place in the mountains called Nowhere, and it's this place where children who have run away have formed a community. There's a lot more to it than that. You get a lot of backstory to this particular place and how the guy who used to live there was a killer. He murdered a load of people. Right now I don't have the full picture, but it's really atmospheric. I really like Catriona Ward's writing. I think her characters really stand out to me as well. I think she does a lot in a short space of time, in a short page count. So yeah, I am intrigued to read more of this. It does feel quite heavy because obviously it's dealing with child abuse. A lot of Catriona Ward's books have been the same, where the themes are quite often more hard-hitting. So just something to be aware of if you've not read any of her books, but I am hoping that I'm going to feel more awake this afternoon and I'll be able to read a little more. I would like to get to the halfway point this afternoon if I can. I am now home from the hairdressers, as you can see, and I don't know how I feel about my hair. I've been looking at it in the mirror, I'm looking at it now in the viewfinder, and I think I like it. This is what I asked for. I asked for a bob above the shoulders and that's what I got. So if I hate it, then it's my own fault. I think I just need to get used to the length because I haven't had my hair this short in a while, and I think I need to wash and style it myself and just kind of zhuzh it up a bit because this is a bit sleeker and shinier and smoother than I usually have my hair. My plan for this afternoon is I want to try and finish Nowhere Burning because I got past the halfway point last night and I'm still really enjoying this. You know what it reminds me of? I was trying to work it out. It reminds me a little bit of The Beach by Alex Garland, I think is the author's name, and it was also turned into a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's not a perfect comparison because there's some pretty big differences. It's not set on a beach and it's involving children instead of adults, but I think this is a book about trying to find a home and trying to find a community. All of these children have been abused or neglected in some way, and so it does feel very heavy in that sense. But it does talk a lot about loneliness. It talks a lot about feeling like you don't have a home, and I think that aspect has been done really well. I am a little bit worried that I worked something out, and I don't know if I'm meant to have worked this thing out at this point. I might be completely wrong, because what I've found with Catriona Ward's books is that they quite often take me by surprise, or sometimes there's red herrings that you know, it's meant to deliberately confuse you, and so I don't know whether that's what's happening, but I think I have pieced some stuff together, and if I have, I don't think it's going to affect my overall enjoyment because that's not why I'm reading the book. I'm reading the book for the atmosphere and for the themes, and I think it is delivering on that. If you are curious where to start with Catriona Ward's books, I would probably right now recommend The Last House on Needler Street because I think that's the least experimental out of all of her books. I mean, it still has the perspective of a cat. I think if you read that and you hate it, then you're not going to like any of her other books. I still haven't really read any more of Half His Age. I meant to to take my headphones into town and I forgot. So I'm still, I think, only about 20% of the way through. I might just give you my final thoughts on that once I finished it. I realised I gave you a terrible synopsis or description of what the book is about, so I will correct that when I come to tell you about the book. I actually think it has kind of similar themes to Nowhere Burning, but not quite. You know, like they're both about children, young people who have been abused or neglected, and the impact that that has on them, or at least the impact it has on their frame of mind and their actions, their motivations, and the way that they move through the world. Hopefully the next time I speak to you, I will have finished 2 books, and then we can decide if I'm going to read a 3rd book for this vlog. I'm going to see how long this vlog is up until this point and then make a decision, because I don't want to put this vlog out if it's too short, but I also don't want to force myself to read an extra book if I don't feel like I need to. It is now Friday. I didn't get to speak to you yesterday because me and Sam spent over 2 hours, I think it was, filming a bookshelf tour, which will either be live by the time this vlog goes live, or it will be the video that's going live immediately after. So look out for that if you are interested. But I did also finish both books that I was reading, so I want to talk to you about them. I think I'm going to start with Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward, because that's the book that I finished first. I liked this. I'm going to give it 4 stars. What I liked the most was how the setting felt very vivid and alive. In fact, at one point, the location was described as breathing, and I felt like I was very immersed and like I was there. It's set in, I think, Colorado in the Rocky Mountains, which is, I think, I'm not very good at geography, especially US geography, but I think that's the next state over from where my dad lives in Utah. And I've been to the Rocky Mountains. I climbed Timpanogos 10 years ago. It was a long time ago, but I felt like I could picture where it's set. I mean, not exactly, because, you know, it's a different state, but the point is that I really, really loved the setting. I also liked how it focused on the history of this land and all the layers there. There are also these dreamlike moments where you're not quite sure what's happening or if it's actually happening, or, you know, stuff like that, which I think Catriona Ward does very well. I think she writes in a way that does make you feel confused every so often, but it's a good confusion. I also think she's very good at building anticipation, and not in a way of like a typical thriller. I think her books are often mismarketed because I see them recommended as thrillers and horrors, and they do have darker elements, but I think she writes literary fiction that has darker elements, you know, like thriller and horror elements. The feeling that I get from her books is more of this creeping dread where you know that you're building up to something, you're just waiting for it to happen. I don't feel like the ending fully stuck the landing for me. There were certain character actions that felt quite abrupt, and like characters were making decisions and I couldn't quite understand fully why they were making those decisions. I could get over it in terms of the child characters, because children, I think, are much more likely to make snap decisions. But when an adult makes a decision and I'm not fully grasping it, that's when it kind of loses me. So that's the main reason why I gave it 4 stars. Also, there was one element towards the end, which I'm not going to obviously go into details on, but I found it completely unbelievable and I didn't think it would actually happen that way. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not exactly an expert, but yeah, I think it was quite rushed and I would have appreciated it to be done in a different way that was more believable. But that's my thoughts on Nowhere Burning. I would still recommend this, especially if you've liked Catriona Ward's other books. I think that this one was stronger than her last book, Looking Glass Sound. I still liked that one, but I know that it wasn't as well received. I think that if you liked The Last House on Needless Street and Sundial, then there's a good chance that you would like this one as well. I have also now finished Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy, and I have really mixed feelings on this. The audiobook was great. If I haven't said already, it's narrated by the author, and I think she does have a great voice for audiobook narration. I would definitely listen to other books by her. I did have to slow down the audiobook speed quite a bit because she talks very fast, and the way that it's written, it's these short, snappy sentences, very short chapters as well. I think there's over 90 chapters in this book, and the audiobook is 4.5 hours long. So very short chapters, very snappy, and has this kind of snarky, sarcastic almost writing style, almost like it's going for humour, even though this is not, in my opinion, funny. Like I said, I had some mixed feelings on it. I think I'm going to go with a 3-star rating because I appreciated what this book was trying to do. However, it made me feel uncomfortable. That's not why I'm rating it down, because I expected that it was going to make me feel uncomfortable. Ultimately, it's about a student-teacher relationship. So obviously that's not the lightest topic to read about. I think it was the writing style is not what I enjoy. And again, it's not a book that you read for enjoyment. I can't help but compare this to My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, which is one of my favourite books that I've read in the past 5 or 6 years. That, I think, is very different tonally. My Dark Vanessa is about a student-teacher relationship, and I felt like that focused on how this 15-year-old girl is groomed by her English teacher. Half His Age felt different to me because it's about this teenage girl who grew up with a mother that didn't have a very healthy view on relationships, and you can see how the main character's past has kind of influenced who she is now. She's very erratic, she has a shopping addiction, she is quite impulsive. I think she was deliberately written to come across as quite abrasive, but I had a lot of compassion for her. I think that is actually the intention, is that you're meant to think about her situation. You know, she describes herself as being white trash, and she doesn't have a very strong view of herself. She has quite low self-esteem, even though on the outside she appears to be quite confident. She develops this obsession with her teacher and she pursues him, and as the reader you are meant to look at this situation, or at least I felt like you're meant to look at this situation and think, well, he's the adult, so he should be setting hard boundaries and not taking advantage of the situation just because his own life is, you know, he's struggling in his own life. And so I'm a bit confused because before I picked up this book, I hadn't seen many reviews. I think I'd seen 1 or 2. I've had a little look on Goodreads. When I added it to Goodreads, I noticed that it only has a 3.5-ish average rating, and I was expecting the reviews to reflect some of what was said about My Dark Vanessa when that came out, because I mean, it's completely fair to not like a book for any reason, and I know that a lot of people didn't like My Dark Vanessa because of how uncomfortable it made them feel, which is completely valid. It's intended to make you feel uncomfortable, but it's completely valid to feel that way and not want to read a book like that. I've seen a few reviews saying that Half His Age romanticizes student-teacher relationships, and I don't agree with that at all. Like, it doesn't outwardly tell you that this relationship is inappropriate, but you are meant to know that. Like, it goes without saying. The book isn't trying to justify anything. It's told from the perspective of this 17-year-old girl who is romanticizing the relationship because it's in her mind. As the reader, you're not necessarily meant to agree with her. You're meant to kind of make your own mind up about the situation. I think the author was quite intentional in the way that this was written, and I think it achieved what it set out to achieve in terms of the feeling that it was trying to evoke. I feel like I'm talking myself round and round in circles. It was the writing style that wasn't to my personal preference. So yeah, 3 stars. I think if you are going to pick this up, because I know it's been very popular and a lot of people are picking it up right now, or at least interested in it, the one thing I would bear in mind is that it is very crude, and there are some moments that made me physically recoil. Not one that I loved, unfortunately. I have now decided on the 3rd book that I'm going to be reading for this vlog. I was kind of torn between the new Alice Feeney, which is called My Husband's Wife, and the new John Marrs, which is called Dead in the Water. I've decided to go with the John Marrs book because I've usually had better luck with John Marrs's books compared to Alice Feeney. I've only read 2 Alice Feeney books. One I gave 4 stars and the other I gave 3 stars. John Marrs, on the other hand, I have given 5 stars in the past. To be fair though, it's usually his sci-fi thrillers that I give 4 or 5 stars. His more domestic or kind of popcorny psychological thrillers I don't tend to like as much, but the synopsis for this one does sound interesting. It's about a guy who has a near-death experience. I think he almost drowns, and while he's drowning, he has these, like, I was going to say visions, but his life flashes before his eyes, and when he survives, he remembers seeing this memory that he doesn't think is a memory. He sees, I think it's a young boy who is like being killed or who is dead, and he's thinking to himself, that isn't a memory, I don't remember that happening, whereas everything else was a memory. And so he's trying to work out, was what he saw something that actually happened that he's repressed, or is there something else going on? I haven't started this yet. I have got the audiobook though, so I am possibly going to go for a walk later and listen to the first hour or so, and then I will check in with you once I'm a little into this. I don't think I'm going to finish this by the end of the week because we are on Friday, and I think it's an 8-hour audiobook. Okay, it's actually 10 hours, so I don't think I'm going to finish this by the end of the weekend, but I'm going to extend this vlog by a few days so I can bring you my final thoughts. I did intend for this vlog to be a weekly vlog, but I'm terrible at sticking to just a week with vlogs, so we're just going to see how things go. If it takes me a week to read this, then it takes me a week at the end of the day. You will just see this vlog whenever it's ready to go live. I have now started Dead in the Water by John Marrs. I am about 30 to 40% of the way through, so I wanted to bring you some initial thoughts and feelings, even though I don't know how I feel about this book right now. It's good, it's fine. I'm enjoying the audiobook narration. I feel like this is the kind of thriller that I would have enjoyed about 6 or 7 years ago, whereas now there's something about it that's just not gripping me. I don't know, because I feel like I should be invested. The plot is pretty much what I said. We're following a guy who has a near-death experience. He starts seeing this child following him around. It's like a hallucination because no one else can see him, and he develops this obsession with trying to find out who this child is, and things spiral from there. I feel like this is a really difficult book to explain. There have been some kind of creepy moments, and there was actually one moment in particular that I really liked, which I can't talk about because that would be spoilers. This does have a crossover with another John Marrs book, a book that I have read. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. I don't feel like it's necessary to have read that book in order to enjoy this one, but I think if you have read it, then this moment, ramifications, yeah, like I did like that, and that moment gave me that little sinking feeling of, ooh, okay. I feel like it's really annoying that I'm not telling you what the book is, but I really don't want to spoil anything if you are thinking about picking this up, and if you've read a lot of John Marrs's popular books, then the chances are you will have read this one. But I didn't 100% love the other book that this one is kind of linked with. I thought it was okay, it was just very dark, and I think it was too dark for me, and so I'm a little bit nervous that this book is now going to go in a similar direction and that I'm not going to like it. So it's kind of put me on edge a little bit, even though yeah, like I'm listening to the audiobook and it's enjoyable. There's multiple narrations because you don't just have this main character's perspective, you also have these other characters that every so often come into it. I definitely want to continue to see what the resolution is going to be. Maybe it's just been a bit of a slow start. I feel like it's not gripped me as much as I was expecting, considering I heard the synopsis and thought, okay, I wonder where things are going to go from there. I don't know whether I'm loving the direction that it is going in. I think as well, okay, the problem is that this guy is so determined. The things that he is doing and the lengths that he will go to in order to solve this mystery, I don't know whether I'm loving that. He's very unreliable as a narrator, and I think I've just read so many books that have the unreliable narrator trope that it's difficult now for me to enjoy it because I feel like I've just seen it all before. I feel like that update was super negative, even though, like I said, this book feels fine so far, and I'm only a third of the way through, so I might end up enjoying it as I get further into it. Something that I have been enjoying is the new season of Bridgerton. I watched the first 2 episodes over the weekend, and I think this is going to be my favourite season since series 2. I wasn't the biggest fan of the last season. I felt like it was focusing too much on every character. What I like about the series is that it feels like romance novels, but as a TV show. I like how at least the first 2 seasons focused on a core couple, and yeah, there were side plots going on because I feel like you have to do that with a TV show, but I liked how you could see the focus on developing the main romance, and I feel like they didn't do that so much in season 3. So far for season 4, I'm really liking the chemistry between the main couple and I'm feeling invested in their romance. So I'm gonna hopefully watch the next 2 episodes this weekend. You may hear some noise throughout this clip because there are bulldozers outside the back of my house right now. I don't know if I've talked about this yet in the vlog, but there's some kind of construction work going on. I don't know what it is, but they're really loud and they keep starting at 7 o'clock in the morning right up until about 5:30 in the evening, which makes for filming vlog updates on my lunch break kind of difficult. But I have just had a very exciting parcel arrive that I wanted to open. I received an email earlier this week asking if I would like a copy of Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. This is a new release that's coming out in March. It's described as Sapphic Moby Dick in space, which already sounds intriguing, but it's also been compared to the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers, one of my favourite series of all time. I finished it recently and I really want to pick up more sci-fi. I feel like this is going to be really fun. It's described as a sapphic science fiction retelling of Moby Dick. I think I've already said that. The next vlog that I'm going to be filming after this one is trying to complete my R Fantasy Bingo TBR, and I think this will count for a few different spaces. In terms of reading updates, I am almost finished with Dead in the Water by John Marrs. I think I've got less than 2 hours left on the audiobook, so I will bring you a proper update tomorrow, but I am quite liking this. I don't know, I feel like it's not really a me kind of thriller, but if you like thrillers that have so many twists and turns, I think this could really work for you. What I like is that the twists and turns are kind of evenly spaced out. It's not like you're getting loads all at once and you're feeling like whiplash. It's well paced. I think the second half has been a bit too wild and unhinged for me, and this is what I know about myself as a reader. When I'm reading a thriller in particular, I tend to prefer more mysteries because I prefer interesting reveals, you know, where you're getting informational reveals. That's what I was trying to say. I prefer it when you get information that you didn't previously have and it blows your mind and you're thinking, wow, it catches you off guard. Whereas I think this is a bit underwhelming in that sense. There's been a few things that I haven't seen come in, but it's more about the characters and their actions. And every so often I'm thinking, okay, what are you doing? That I think is where its strength is, and that's just not something that I personally prefer in a thriller. I would rather the informational reveals be really well done rather than the characters acting unhinged. But I think I am gonna like this overall. It's feeling like a solid 7 out of 10 or a 3.5 stars, but I will give you my final update. Why am I holding this up? This isn't the book that I'm talking about. I will give you my final update once I finished it. If I look a little bit dishevelled in this update, it's because I went for a walk this morning and got caught in the rain. But the good news about the rain is that the drilling and stuff that's going on outside has stopped for a moment. I thought they wouldn't be working on a Saturday, but no. 8:15 this morning, bright and early, all I could hear was beep, beep, drrr. Yeah, I think it's kind of, oh my gosh, I've just broken my chair. I've had a week, okay? It's been one of those weeks. This vlog was actually meant to end last weekend and it's now Saturday again, but I have now finished my audiobook. The reason I didn't finish it last night like I planned is because I got a bit distracted. I caught up on Bridgerton a few days ago, so I needed something new to watch last night, and I thought I'd put on the first episode of Heated Rivalry because I keep hearing people talk about it and it's on Now TV in the UK now. So I thought, okay, I'll try the first episode, see if it's for me. All I knew about it was that it was based on a book series and that it's a male-male hockey romance. I actually used to play hockey years ago, field hockey, not ice hockey. Can't skate to save my life. But I thought I would stick on the first episode, and I wasn't sure at first because there's a lot of time jumps and it was throwing me. I was getting not confused because I was following it, but it took me by surprise, and then next thing I know, I've watched 5 episodes. So that was my evening last night, but this morning I woke up. I really wanted to go for a walk because I haven't been getting my steps in this week with the weather being so miserable. So I got up, went for a walk in the rain, and I finished Dead in the Water, which I think out of all of the books that I've read in this vlog, this is the one that I would probably recommend more broadly. I can already think of a few people actually that I'm going to recommend this to. There's a few people I work with who really like thrillers, and especially dark thrillers, which I would consider this quite a dark thriller. I think it was a little bit too dark for me, and okay, I didn't like it, which I should probably have started by saying. Even though I would recommend this, I don't think this was a thriller for me, and I kind of had that impression around the 40% mark, but I was enjoying listening to the audiobook. I think the audiobook is really well produced. I did start to enjoy it a little more the further that I got in, but I hated the ending. I think this was, in a way, trying to do too much. There are so many twists and turns throughout this book, and I mean, in some ways that's a good thing because there was no way that I could have seen all of them come in, but also I felt like there were these big moments that were meant to shock me, and I was not shocked. I was kind of not even underwhelmed. Well, yeah, I was underwhelmed because I felt like some parts were quite predictable. At the same time though, there were some moments where my jaw dropped and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I don't think this is trying to be a realistic thriller, but I think I was struggling to suspend my disbelief throughout certain parts. You know what the problem is? I watched too much CSI when I was a teenager, and so now when I'm reading any book that has any kind of crime element, I'm thinking, yeah, that wouldn't happen. Also, I used to work in a hospital, so anything that is medical related or that has any kind of medical element, I also don't like having to suspend my disbelief when it comes to things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm disappointed because I think this was good in what it was trying to do. If you like dark, twisty thrillers, and I have a few friends that I know will really like this, that I'm going to recommend this to. I think it's a case of it just wasn't for me, and I think I'm officially done with trying John Marrs's more psychological thrillers. I've read a few and I don't like them, not in comparison to his sci-fi thrillers. I think out of all of his more like standard thrillers, I haven't given any of them over 3 stars, and I'm debating giving this one a 2 stars because I really didn't like the ending. As I said, this vlog is going live a little bit later than I had planned, but thank you for watching. If you have made it this far, let me know in the comments if you are excited to pick up any of these books, if you've read them already, because I think with the exception of Nowhere Burning, Half His Age and Dead in the Water are both already out now. So let me know if you've read them and what you thought of them. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye.